First and foremost, thank you so much for everyone who has come to learn about Trinity and our relationship with the Red Door. I'm Brad Wilson. I'm the president of the advisory board for the Church of the Advocate. I've been in this role for 10 months, I believe. And so it's definitely proven to be a challenge, but a very rewarding challenge for all of us who have kind of taken a role in the Red Door. Before I get started with my presentation, I would like to start off with a prayer. So let us pray. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Almighty and most merciful God, we remember before you all poor and neglected persons whom it would be easy for us to forget, the homeless and the destitute, the old and the sick, and all who have none to care for them. Help us to heal those who are broken in body or spirit, and to turn their sorrow into joy. Grant this, Father, for the love of your Son, who for our sake became poor, Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. All right. So again, thank you so much for coming. I do want to give a little bit of a background in the Red Door for some folks who may not know a lot about the history, and I will be the first to admit that I too am still trying to learn the history of the Red Door. But the Red Door, as you can see in our logo, was started in 1997. It was started by Reverend Judith Welchel, who at the time was a curate within the Diocese of Western North Carolina. So for those who don't know, a curate is someone who has just kind of graduated from seminary and who is answering the call to ministry. And she actually began the Red Door with a card table and bag lunches. And she would actually take those bag lunches on a cart, and as well as the card table, and would wheel them up to downtown in Pritchard Park, and would actually set up the card table as an altar and actually hold a worship service there. And at the end of the worship service, actually give out bag lunches. Over the years, obviously the Red Door has really kind of changed and has flourished and has kind of ebbed and flowed. So this is our 26th year in service to our community. The Red Door did not come to Trinity until 2000, I believe, and has been here ever since. So Trinity has definitely been the location for the our unhoused brothers and sisters here in the downtown area. One of the most common questions I get is, so here at Trinity, we call it the Church of the Advocate, but we also have another name called the Red Door. Anybody know why we're called the Red Door? That's right. So when the ministry began and when the ministry actually moved here, the word on the street, they would never call it the Church of the Advocate. They would always say, you're just going to go down to the Red Door on Church Street. And everyone knows that we have a Red Door. And so that is, and we've had, I'm trying to remember, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Judy, 4 vicars.
I think you're 5 or 6.
I think 5 vicars. And our most recent was Reverend Dina Wayland, who retired in April of last year. So, you know, I'm a big lover of quotes, and I'm a big lover of study of the saints. But you know, where mercy, love, and speak well, there God is well and do. I definitely think that does speak what we do at the Church of the Advocate. First and foremost, we are a worshiping community. We are a community of believers and a community of folks who we all try to live into our covenant. And one of the things in today's liturgy, we're gonna hear the story of the Good Shepherd. And how God loves us and accepts us, who we are. And that is certainly above all what we believe. And at the Church of the Advocate is that every human being has worth, has the right and the privilege to be loved. Whether they are mentally ill, whether they are on substances, and they have a place here. They have a place here. We are kind of a joint ministry between Trinity and the diocese. So we kind of have to straddle a line, with with us being kind of funded partly by Trinity and partly by, the diocese. And then we also have other parishes who also support us all throughout the diocese. And kind of one of the things that we have been working on as a board has been trying to reestablish and trying to build more and more relationships within the other parishes and dioceses that was kind of crippled during COVID. So what do we do at the Church of the Advocate? As it stands right now, and we'll go in, that things are going to be changing a little bit starting next month. But we have ministries on Tuesdays and Sundays. On Tuesdays, what we are currently offering is a Lectio Divina service, or a circle of healing and prayer. This service is a very brief service, and it's all about taking the gospel for the upcoming week, listening to it, analyzing it, and finding out what is it within that word that stands out to each individual person in discussing it. And how it helps, how it speaks to them and helps them to deal with their current life. After the circle of healing, we offer kind of a little brunch. We have a coffee hour where we offer snacks. We have been very, very blessed in that the Cliff Corporation has picked us up thanks to Mac Day's son Scott as a sponsor, and every 3 months they're donating 1,000 Cliff bars to our organization, so that we're actually going to be able to have snacks to be able to give out to folks on Tuesday. So definitely go out and support Cliff bars. And they're very, very good. The peanut butter chocolate is my favorite. And then unfortunately, we are actually having to suspend our Tuesday services temporarily in effort, because as most know, we don't have a vicar right now. And we really truly need to have a vicar or a priest to kind of help lead the service. And we're also going to be losing Wade, who I'll talk about a little bit later, who has been an amazing addition and gift to the Church of the Advocate. And then Sundays, oh, there's a picture of our healing circle. I don't know if you can see it, but and then on Sunday, kind of this is what I kind of see as our legacy ministry. And it harkens back to the roots of what we do. First and foremost is worship. First and foremost is worship. And we actually have a full service on Sunday following the Episcopal liturgy. As it stands right now, with what because we don't have a vicar, we have been very, very blessed with supply clergy who have been able to work with us and to keep the programs going. We have about 7 supply clergy who are helping. And without them, we could not do what we're doing. The second piece is that we do offer the basics closet, which you can actually see for those of you that are online, you cannot see. But to the right, there's a sign that says the basics closet. The basics closet is a closet where we provide folks with all the necessities that they could possibly need, things that we take for granted, such as toothpaste, toothbrush, soap, washcloth, shampoo, razor blades, shaving cream, laundry. And every Sunday we will open it up and folks will, and you can see on the inside. We also, and that's the supply list, and of all the things that we actually provide, we have first aid kits. Thank you, Judy. And so we do offer those, to the folks who do come. And, you know, I think it's also very important, and it also speaks to us as a community. We don't have to participate in worship in order to reap the benefits of everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome. The other ministry that we have, and that Judy just opened, and is actually moving, is our soulmate closet, which actually is a bit, barren. So our soulmate closet gives folks the opportunity to get a pair of shoes, clean socks. You know, one of the things that we don't really think about in terms of our unhoused brothers and sisters is any given day, they put miles and miles and miles on their feet. And shoes and clean socks all make the difference. And so what we do is we collect gently used shoes and we store them in the closet, and we also open up the soulmate closet for our brothers and sisters who may need a good decent pair of shoes or need socks. In the winter time, we also use the soulmate closet for toboggans, blankets, gloves, scarves. And so all those things that folks would need to be able to survive the bitter cold. Last but not least, we also offer a community meeting. And so I know you've probably seen the advertisement regarding our Helping Hands Eat Serve ministry. So we have fostered a partnership with the food and as well as UNC Asheville, and they actually provide the food that we serve on Sundays to folks. So the whole goal of Food Connection is to minimize food waste, and so what UNCA has been probably the most generous organization in providing food from their cafeteria, their student cafeteria, and providing us pounds upon pounds. Any given week, we could get 20 pounds of food for us to be able to serve. And so our pantry and our freezer is completely full. And so the Heat and Serve ministry actually comes to actually help benefit our community meal. Any questions so far about our ministries, what we do? Anything about any given Sunday, anything that I can answer. And we also have other volunteers here too that can also.
Prepare the food.
We do, so good question, so the question was for folks at home is do we prepare the food? So the food is already pre-cooked and it is frozen, so what we do is we actually thaw the food in advance and heat it up in the oven so that it's already ready to go. And so on Sundays, what the Heat and Serve ministry, which I'll go into that a little bit more, helps us do is to kind of get everything plated, get everything set up, ready to serve. They also help with our coffee hour. So that's kind of the current iteration. Previous iteration of our community meal, we actually had a chef who would actually prepare meals. But unfortunately, COVID changed all of that, just as it did everything. So, other questions?
I think the number of people that you see right here is oftentimes what we have for service on Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a small Sunday when there are only 26 people here, and it can be upwards to 40. We serve 50 meals most Sundays, because there will be some people that come in they know that the service ends at 2:15 or so, and they'll come in, or people that will just want basics or shoes. But it's not small. Tuesdays, when Brother John was here, we would have, and there are people here that were frequently with us on Tuesdays, 15 It's much smaller now, we're 6 or 8. Much smaller, but it was a significant ministry.
Other questions?
Right,
Yeah,
a lot
sure.
of them have. an unseen aspect. If we think that it's paid or it's really hot or it's really cold, there is a 2-3 hour window of time on Sunday. People can just come inside, go to sleep, cool off, warm up, plug in their phone, just do stuff that we take for granted. And in addition to the liturgy and the Eucharist and the meal and all these supplies, it's just an oasis deep inside.
Mhm. It is its own community.
And occasionally on Tuesday, we'll end up with somebody, because a significant number of the people that come here sleep rough, and that's the term they use for sleeping outside. And you will find that you may end up with people that are kind of sleeping in spots. And I know that sometimes on Tuesday morning, women coming to Bible study have been real concerned because they see somebody on the floor here. And it's part of what we offer. And particularly in the cold, where their sleeping rough may have been very, very different. A number of these people will not go to even in the code purple. That many people around them, it's just not, and yet they're comfortable here.
Yes, sir.
And just a comment from pre-COVID experience with the community. Did you ever notice when you go to the dentist, they'll give you a tube of free toothpaste and a toothbrush? Ask them for a few more and bring them in. It's one of the ways we kept this supply, was just asking dentists for a few of their, because the industry gives them to the dentist. The dentist isn't losing anything. So think things like, socks, there are many sources out there that if you just ask, people are willing to contribute.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
If I may bounce off his comment, I was sitting here thinking of this because I've always been the kid in class who's afraid to ask the stupid question. How do I, I've got socks, shirts, I'm blessed with, 100 coats because I lived in Blowing Rock before moving here. How does one donate appropriately to the ministry?
Good question. We can chat about that. You can email me. And I've got my email address, and I've actually got some handouts at the end that you can pick up. That's got my email address, my phone number, should you want. And then there's also, opportunities for involvement as well. But you can call me, you can email me, and we can always coordinate something. We have an administrative assistant who is here Tuesdays through Thursdays, for a few hours each day. And her name is Sue, and she can help you with that as well. So we can certainly work that out.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Other questions? All right. So the other program that we do offer is our Good Works program. And our Good Works program is a program that provides kind of a structured, supported work environment for our brothers and sisters who are on the street. As part of that program and participation in that program, folks are able to get one-on-one professional counseling through All Souls Counseling. And the way that the program works is we actually partner with community nonprofits such as Restore. They've done work, as you can see, with St. Matthias. St. Luke's is another church that we have done work for, Haywood Street. And our folks will go there and do tasks, whether it be manual labor outside working on the grounds of the church or helping to do cleaning, any type of thing that the organization needs. At Restore, folks work to help stock shelves, things like that. And we actually pay these folks a living wage. although the living wage has changed. And so the whole idea of this program is to be able to get these folks checking accounts. And income and work experience so that they can continue to try to get off the street and get into housing. And Judy, who has been an amazing lead, has actually been leading the Good Work program this year along with Wade. And Judy, is there anything else that you want to talk about?
I think we're also at Lake Logan, so we really have gone lots of places. We have had upwards of 10 to 12 people in the Good Works program at a time. We are now down closer to about 6. We end up, and we call it permanent, temporary, transitional. They will get about 6, maybe 10 hours of work in a week. We pay $11 an hour. They do get covered. We have to pay employment taxes on them, on the persons that are working. We're really trying to give them the respect and dignity that allows them to feel some degree of capacity to go out and find something else. We end up with people that will be with us for a short period of time and go on to something more substantial. We've had people end up in stocking at Ingles, in restaurants. But we also have some people that have disabilities, and when you're on a permanent disability, you can earn $1,000 a month. And in some sense, being part of this program is such a huge benefit to their life in terms of the additional resources make that much of a difference.
Thank you, Judy. Questions about Good Works? All right, so I do want to kind of take some time to kind of talk about where we've been so that you can kind of have an idea of where we're headed. As I said, I've only been in this role for about 10 months. And one thing that I can say in the 10 months that I've kind of been in this role, it has definitely, 2022 was definitely a year of change. And, you know, there's always that phrase, the only constant in the world is change. And so it is how we respond to that change that defines who we are as both individuals as well as an organization. And so, you know, I think it's important for us to kind of look at, you know, homelessness in our community. And in 2022, the homeless, in 2023, sorry, our latest homeless count was 637 people. That is people who are living in both emergency shelters, transitional housing, as well as those who are camping, sleeping under bridges, sleeping on the streets. Out of that number, 405 were in shelters or in transitional housing, but there's still 232 folks who are living on the street. Now, when we look back at 2022, we actually saw a doubling of the number of people who were actually living on the street and not living in transitional housing. Which is why, you know, the city of Asheville has asked for this task force, because during COVID, there was a lot of money that was actually thrown towards homelessness and getting folks off the street as part of the PPP program. And we were actually able to get folks, there was a Red Roof Inn here in Asheville that was actually converted into an emergency shelter. And those folks were able to live in that emergency shelter. But now the PPP money is gone. And now those folks are now back out on the streets. And so, you know, we're expecting that homelessness is just going to continue to increase as time moves on. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Good question. So I was able to go back and look at 2019 number. And in 2019, the homeless count was estimated, and this was kind of before the city really started making sure to keep a head count. It was around 479. So that included folks living in transitional housing. And again, that was an estimate.
And yet we have some absolutely wonderful success stories here. We have somebody who's been part of Chris, who's been, not you, Chris, but Computer Chris, who we all know on Tuesdays has been here for years and years, and he ended up in a red roof, one room, and he will say that life changed for him. He had been on the streets for 13 to 16 years. He didn't go to public showers because they were too scary and you weren't safe. And he ended up in a place that had a shower. He has now been in an apartment for 2 years, had a job for a year, not full-time. He still comes here most Tuesdays. It's partly why, since Brother John left, we've kind of kept it happening. Because we have a couple people that this is the number of people they can manage comfortably with. But there are just some incredible success stories about what this city did during COVID. Always have to have a little positive.
No, absolutely. Also in 2022 in April, Dina Whalen, our vicar, retired. And so the search began, for her replacement. And then in June, we unfortunately lost our community coordinator, for Good Works. And we are still on kind of the search for a community coordinator. So if you know of someone who has a love and a dedication for our unhoused brothers and sisters, let me know. Because that position is desperately needed. And then in July, we as the advisory board devised a plan and had some very kind of difficult conversation. Well, I wouldn't say difficult, but heart conversations about who are we, what are we going to do, how are we going to move forward. And at that time, everyone was like, we're going to do all that we can to keep everything going as long as we can. Because we believe in the work that we do here. And so with that, we have continued to move forward. And then we had fantastic news. In October, Wade Hedrick joined the Church of the Advocate as our Blue Ridge Service Corps volunteer. I cannot say how much Wade has become part of the fabric of the Church of the Advocate. So he was actually a student at UNCA who was in his senior year studying business, during which he actually did the senior project for us and actually worked on improving our website. And since graduating, he has continued to grow with us and actually took ownership along with Judy for our Good Works program to keep that going. And then also has helped with our kitchen ministry, our community meal program, as doing the lead for our kitchen ministry. So he has been an absolute dream. And unfortunately, his time with the service corps is going to be ending next week, or this week, I should say. And so he's going to be heading back home and to Hickory where he lives. And so we are going to deeply miss Wade when he is gone. And then change continued into 2023 when Brother John, who Judy mentioned, we bid farewell to him as he was answering a call to go into ministry in hospice and palliative care. So he is now a chaplain for receiving hospice and palliative care. And he served the Church of the Advocate for 12 years, I believe, Judy. I think it was 12 years.
At least 10.
Yeah.
And
So-
his service or his monastery wants them only to do 7 years.
7 years.
So this was a real stretch.
Yes. So change has continued. And then that brings us to this coming month. We as the advisory board have had to kind of make the difficult decision that right now, we're gonna be suspending our Tuesday mornings services and offerings as well as the good work for you. Until we can get our positions. And just focus on our legacy programs, which would be Sundays. And so it is not a farewell. It is just until we can get our feet up underneath us and we can start running in with the wind, again. And so, again, you know, I love this phrase, and I wish I could get, oops, excuse me, I want to see if I can shrink it down. Let's see, okay. This is a quote from Job: "If a tree, if it is cut down, it will sprout again, and its tender roots will not fail." And I firmly believe that that's kind of right now where we're at. You know, our right now we're a little bit low, but we have full intentions of being able to sprout again. So that our mission and our vision will not fail us. Truly. And so, you know, we are going to continue our Sunday worship. We are going to continue the basics closet, the soulmate closet, and the community meal going forward. And trying to augment all of those services. We have true dedication from our certified clergy as well as from Trinity. And Trinity has been invaluable in supporting us as well. So that is, and where we go from there, you know, we're still actively looking for a vicar. And hopefully, knock on wood, and everyone in this room, please say a prayer, that we are able to find someone, who holds this, to their, as close to their heart as we do. So that we can continue on our legacy. So how can you help? Number one, you can volunteer. So certainly, I will say, the Trinity has definitely heeded the call for our Eat and Serve ministry. So I have to say, I was amazed. So the email that went out on a Monday, and then by Wednesday, we had 40 volunteers. 40. I told Scott at the beginning of all this, I was like, I think we'll probably get 6, and I'm okay with that. We'll get 6, but we got 40, which is absolutely amazing. And so the role for Helping Hands is going to be helping us with prep, helping us being able to plate the food, serve the food, help us with our coffee hour before the services, and just doing kind of some of the general prep work. You know, wrapping silverware and napkins, running back and forth if we run out of coffee, keeping snacks on the snack table, all of those good things, because those are very, very important tasks. Also, hosting duties. So a host, really the role of the host is to be a friendly face for everyone who walks in the door. Sitting and chatting, helping to kind of prepare the altar for worship. And just being that person, that face that someone can connect to. Also, hosts from time to time will serve or help in the basics closet and the soulmate. And help us get folks what they need. Judy.
Things, we do an art table, so that as
Oh,
people
yeah.
come in at 12, if they want to have, and you will have people chit chat. But when you look at these posters that are up here that are clearly colored, those have been from this, and Liz Minor is kind of the hostess of the mostest at the art table, and also brings in supplies that she knows are adult appropriate. But I mean, it's just, it is an open space from 12 If you talk to people, they may not fall asleep, they may not drift places that make some other people wish they weren't there. And so it really is just a chance.
It is. It is. Other ways, donate shoes to our Goldman Closet. As I mentioned, we accept gently worn athletic shoe boots that are in good condition, clean and still wearable. All sizes. Unfortunately, we can't accept heels or pumps or anything like that because they're just not, usable on the street. Not very comfortable. I mean, they're good for Sunday, but other than people who would like to wear pumps, welcome. Also, for the basics, we also have created an Amazon wish list. So that folks, if you want, I'm my little handout and I can also email it out to you. Our Amazon wish list so that everyone, I think a lot of people use Amazon to get their day-to-day goods. While you're at Amazon, think of the Church of the Advocate and order us everything that is available in the basics closet is available. And honestly, that's where we get a lot of the bulk of our stuff because we get free shipping with Amazon. So think about that, and then also monetary contributions are super duper important. While Trinity certainly goes above and beyond in helping us, but with monetary contributions, they help us pay for our vicar. And even more so now with the joint position that is going to be our vicar. So it's going to be a shared position between Trinity Church and Church of the Advocate in efforts for us to try to make this job much more competitive, I should say, because there is such a shortage of clergy out there. We've got to make ourselves a little bit more competitive. As well as, with all the other in-kind donations, as you can see, that was actually our altar from Easter. So Trinity's Flower Guild, Trinity's Altar Guild, everyone pitches in and helps us. And everyone here at Trinity has just gone above and beyond. Trinity's vestry has been so gracious, and all of their support. But also, I think it is important to know that while some of the programming that we do have grants that do help offset some of the costs for the basics and for the Soulmates Closet and for the Good Work program. But the expenses that we need worship, which is our primary goal, is not grant approved. And we don't have parishioners who can. And so we have to survive on in-kind donations. So for example, our budget, outside of the monies that we get from grants is using about $30,000 for both worship expenses, keeping the van going, keeping all of our supplies up and running. So that is an important part of what we do as well. And I love, go ahead, Judy.
I have on that is that we would not be where we are today. Brad has done an incredible. Definition where we were. Other than the grant stuff, we are a worshiping community first, and Brad has put a degree of, I want to say, Trinity centric order. I mean, if you just poke your head in that basics room, Brad's just done such an amazing job of getting us to a place where we can do this with volunteers in small bits of time. That before everything was being done by people under the radar kind of, and it's just been amazing to see how that has happened. And that's where a lot of us as volunteers, you can come in with a small role because Brad's got us in a structure now that has, we know how to slip people in.
And I also want to leave you with a quote by one of my, actually an up and coming saint. She's actually going to be canonized here in the Catholic Church, Dorothy Day. She said, think about what the world would look like if we took care of the poor even half as well as we do our Bibles. Good question. A lot of it is because of space, number one, and number two is we don't have enough volunteers to be able to manage clothes as well as shoes. So, and also resources in terms of clothing are pretty prevalent here, whether you can go to the Justice Center at the courthouse, First Baptist has a clothing closet.
ABCCM.
ABCCM has one, the Salvation Army has one. Haywood Street has one. And so, but the one thing that we do notice is that you're the only place where folks can get shoes. Unfortunately, no, but I would say if you do have clothing donations, the Appalachian Regional Ministry is in need of clothing. That is, Tom Goodrich. So, that's the ministry that we were gonna be sharing this time with, but unfortunately, Tom had to go out of town on an emergency. But definitely reach out to Tom Goodrich, about that if you do have clothes to donate. But we'll definitely take a shoe and socks. So. Yes, sir.
And in the fall, we oftentimes end up with coats. And we'll just, and we literally put them out here on this rack that you'll see, and we don't, they're just put there, people try them on and take them. But I oftentimes, Goodwill Industries, it's a great place for, they have a room, a huge room, which is $1 a bag or a huge bag of stuff so that it's not, and they have the ability to wash and dry them.
And then last but not least, I do have to extend a list of thank yous, and I know that's very, very small, but definitely thank yous for those who serve on our advisory board, Beth Chestnut, Carrie Jewell, Judy Shanley, Scott White, as well as our supply clergy who we would not be able to do what we do. Katie Chappelle, who is our volunteer bookkeeper, Jan Hildebrand, who is our backup volunteer bookkeeper. And everyone who volunteers and has made a difference. And then we also, our grant supporters, are also, listed there on the right. I'm happy to field any other questions about our ministry. Yes, ma'am. Yes, we do have a van, and we use our van, to shuttle around our Good Works crew.
That's how we get out to Lake.
That's how we get out to Lake Logan, yes, so.
In Grace, we drive up to Grace. You need it. Yes,
Yes, we use it to go pick up the food, yes, because every Friday we pick up food, yes.
and our supporters have been significant. Community Foundation was 15,000 last year. Dogwood was 30,000 between last year, this year. Grace Episcopal Church Foundation has been 5,000, then 4,000. The diocese is big. Walnut Cove. Walnut Cove is where Bill Dockendorf lives, and this year it's $25,000 for Good Works and food ministry and basics. SEH Tabitha is a woman that has Susan Elizabeth Heineman Foundation, and she is supporting persons seeking independence. And that's 15,000 this year. Holy Spirit always does a couple thousand. All of these require applications, Rotary Club. And reports.
Yes, and thanks to Judy for doing those for us. So. Other question? Yes,
In
sir.
terms of the speak here compared to population. In. Do we have more, less, about the same per capita?
Good question, and I don't know that data. Just don't know the data. I will say, historically, in looking at the trends. The homeless issue has gotten much more severe. Here in this area, mainly because folks cannot afford to live here. And the cost of living is the highest in the state. So it is very, very expensive.
Some of those numbers end up not as useful because it's so weather sensitive, that the issues here in the summertime are much more significant. The issues in Buffalo in January are not significant to the same degree as they are in Florida as they are here, even, because there are still people that live in the woods here.
And they do that.
And it's the same around the whole country. It's like the
Yes.
third Monday, or then we do it a Monday or Tuesday. I think it's January 22nd or something like that. And we're waiting to hear this January. They won't issue it until at a national level. They've looked at the PITs, as they call it, across all the various places across the country. Point in time.
Oh.
And it's an amazing thing. They really go out on the streets and talk to people on corners. Where else do they go? They know, sometimes they know who they're looking for. Kristen, you've probably been involved in.
Maybe we don't. I thought. But know what it is.
Migrants. We've all just flow migrants coming across the river, disappearing in the United States. Here,
We do not, I think, we have not seen any non-English speaking boats here. Well, actually, I take that back. We do have a gentleman who's from Russia who does come. But I do think that the majority of folks who are here are mostly migrant farm workers. And mostly work seasonal, they're seasonal farm workers. And I will say, this area has done an amazing job in helping seasonal farm workers in this area, mainly in Henderson County. Has the largest population of migrant farm workers, and Blue Ridge Health, which is a federally qualified health center, actually has a migrant health program that they go all over Western North Carolina to seek out those migrant farm workers. And those folks, generally do have housing and things like that, but no, we don't really see a lot of non-English speaking folks here at the Church of the Advocate.
And one of the supporters that's missing there is Deerfield. And
Sorry,
well, I added them a little later at the end of last year. We did get a $5,000 grant from them for this year, and it really is shoes and basics. But importantly at Deerfield, there are a number of people that live at Deerfield. We get significant contributions from people who are doing RMD and give us, it's RMD is required minimum distribution for any of us retired, with a little bit of a bucket over there. And it's just in January, February, you start getting these letters and it's just like, oh my God, those monies can be used for worshiping community. And what we really like the most are undesignated gifts. Same as Trinity.
other questions? All right, y'all, thank y'all so much for coming. Thank you. Thank you.